Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Ashley Equipped. Today, I don't really know what to call this video, but I just got this She Reads Truth Christian Standard Bible from Barnes & Noble. I literally got it like an hour ago, and I'm so excited, so I am going to tell you about. I got this from Barnes & Noble for, how much was this? $50, and it came in this box. She Reads Truth Bible, Christian Standard Bible. I'm kind of late to the game. This has tons of awesome things on the inside. It has devotionals. I'm going to take this collar off. It has devotionals, illustrated verses, timelines, maps, charts, reading plans, a one-year Bible reading plan, detailed book instructions, and wide margins for journaling and note-taking. So this is the Christian Standard Bible, like I said. You can find it on shereadstruth.com. I'm going to try and find it on Amazon and put a link in the description box. If I can't find it on Amazon, I'll get it on their She Reads Truth website and link it below. So this is what it looks like. It has this gold foil edges, which is super pretty. It has a rose gold outside, which I'm kind of matching with. The pages are just so pretty. It's not lined on the edges, which I'm okay with because I kind of do my own thing anyway, so the lines can sometimes be kind of limiting to what you can do. So we are going to be going through Ruth. This is what Ruth looks like. So it has a overview over here, and then some artwork on this side. Super pretty. I also got this new journal. It says She Moves Mountains. It is just a regular lined notebook. This was $17 at Barnes & Noble. I'll try to find it online. It was just kind of like a random journal that I picked up. I really like the material of it, and it's kind of flimsy, but I like that. Kind of like a soft cover. So I picked this up, and I am going to use this for my She Reads Truth Bible. Instead of taking lots of notes like this in my Crossway Bibles, I'm going to try a new method by using this journal to put notes in that. Let me know in the comments if you have a She Reads Truth Bible. Let me know what your tips are and how you use it. If you use it for Bible journaling, if you use it for just prayers, if you just use it just to read the Bible, let me know in the comments since I'm new to the game. I'm going to have to kind of figure out my own method and my way that I want to use this Bible. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the Bible study. I am ready to go. I have my other Bible set up here, which I have some notes in case I want to add those to this Bible. I have some sticky notes, my pens, my notepad, and my Bible, and my iPad with the Bible Project overview of Ruth video up and ready to go. The first thing I'm going to do, just by looking at this, I'm going to read through the overview of the book. It has a reading plan. I probably won't follow it because I usually read books, these short ones, all at once. But for the sake of this video, we are just going to be doing chapter 1. On the timeline, the book of Ruth is set during the time of Judges, a period of social and religious disorder. So I'm just going to highlight things in this. Social and religious disorder, when everyone did whatever seemed right to them. Historically, this era bridged the time between the conquest of the land under Joshua and the rise of David, whose genealogy forms the conclusion of this book. The book of Ruth opens with a famine in the land and ends with the birth of Obed, grandfather of King David. A little background. The book of Ruth gets its name from one of its principal characters, a Moabite woman named Ruth, which points a dark and depressing picture of Israel. The story of Ruth comes as a welcome relief. Although the book is relatively short, it is rich in examples of kindness, faith, and patience. Ruth is one of the 5 scrolls that were to be read during the Jewish festivals, in particular the Festival of Weeks, which is an interesting thing. Message and purpose. The book of Ruth demonstrates how the Lord shows his covenant faithfulness to his undeserving people, often in surprising ways. The genealogy of David at the end of the book shows that the Lord worked through this story to provide for his people need. Correlation is sometimes made between the redemption of Ruth by Boaz and the redemption of sinners by Christ, because God's covenant faithfulness he has provided in Jesus the Redeemer we all need. Give thanks for the book of Ruth on the side here. Ruth's covenant faithfulness to Naomi and to God showed that those who were not ethnic Israelites, that they too could be incorporated into God's people through faith. If the Moabites who joined themselves to the Lord could be accepted, there was hope for other Gentiles as well. The book of Ruth effectively answered questions that may have been raised over the legitimacy of the Davidic line given his Moabite roots. It also serves as a demonstration of Paul's later statement that there is no distinction between Jew and Greek when it comes to the gospel. The thing that I got from this, I'm going to put that the gospel does not discriminate. So we're just going to get into it, and we are going to start with the Bible Project video. I have my closed captions on, and we're listening to it.
It's a brilliant work of theological art, and it invites us to reflect on the question of how God is in...
So I know I want to write this down because I have it in my other Bible. It is reflecting on the question of how God is involved in the day-to-day joys and hardships of our life.
Involved in the day-to-day joys and hardships of our lives. There are three main characters in the book: Naomi the widow, Ruth.
So Naomi the widow, Ruth the Moabite, and Boaz the Israelite farmer.
The Moabite, and Boaz the Israelite farmer. And their story is told in 4 chapters that are beautifully designed. Let's just dive in and see how this all unfolds. Chapter 1 opens...
So before we go into chapter 1, I have some notes over here. It invites us to consider how God might be at work in the very ordinary, mundane details of our lives. I really like that, so I am going to copy that down in here. Explores interplay of God's purposes and will in human decision. And the big thing that I've read this book a million times, so I do know this. The big thing about this book is loyalty. That is kind of like the main theme of this book. So I'm going to write that in big letters right here. And before we get into chapter 1, I will read the passage first. So let's go ahead and read this first section. During the time of the judges, there was a famine in the land. So Naomi has been through some stuff already, just in this first passage. So his sons died. Naomi was left without her 2 children, without her husband. So in the time of the judges, this was a dark and difficult day from the book of Judges. So it was really hard. And I can see from my notes on this page right here that they were struggling to survive through a famine.
When the judges ruled. And it reminds us of the very dark and difficult days from the book of Judges. And here we meet an Israelite family in Bethlehem, struggling to survive through a famine. And so in search of food, they move on to the land of Moab.
We see that they moved to Moab.
Israel's ancient enemy. And there the father of the family dies, and the sons marry 2 Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. And then the sons, they die too. And so they leave only Naomi and these new daughters-in-law. And so Naomi, she has no reason to stay.
So we are going on to the second section here. She and her daughters-in-law set out to return from the territory of Moab because she had heard in Moab that the Lord paid attention to his people's needs by providing them with food. She left the place where she had been living, accompanied by her 2 daughters, and traveled along the road leading back to the land of Judah. Naomi said to them, "Each of you go back to your mother's home. May the Lord show kindness to you, as you have shown to the dead to me. May the Lord grant each of you rest in the house of a new husband." She kissed them, and they wept loudly. They said to her, "We insist on returning with you to your people." But Naomi replied, "Return home, my daughters. Why do you want to go with me? Am I able to have any more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. Go on, for I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me to have a husband tonight and to bear sons, would you be willing to wait for them to grow up? Would you restrain yourselves from remarrying? No, my daughters, my life is too bitter for you to share, because the Lord's hand is turned against me." Again, they wept loudly. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. Naomi said, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her gods. Follow your sister-in-law." So I'm going to stop there before we get into this dialogue part. So, "Return home, my daughters." So one important thing to note is that Moab is Israel's ancient enemy. So verse 8. Naomi said to them, "Each of you go back to your mother's home. May the Lord show kindness to you, as you have shown to the dead, and to me. May the Lord grant each of you and the rest of the house of a new husband." She kissed them, and they wept loudly. So Naomi wants to leave. She knows that the life of an unmarried foreign widow in Israel is going to be really hard. So she tells them to stay to find husbands, and she is going to go back to Moab. Again, they wept loudly. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And back to the video.
And so she tells her new daughters-in-law that she's moving back home. And Naomi, she knows that the life of an unmarried foreign widow in Israel is going to be very hard. And so she compels the women to stay behind. Orpah agrees, but Ruth does not. She shows remarkable loyalty to Naomi. And she says, "Wherever you go."
So now we are in the dialogue part. But Ruth... get my highlighter. Ruth replied, "Don't plead with me to abandon you or return and not follow you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me and do so severely, if anything but death separates you and me. So wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you stay, wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried." So she shows Ruth could have agreed. She could have gone with Orpah, and they could have stayed, and they could have found husbands and lived their lives and forgotten about Naomi and just called it a part of the past. But Ruth clung to her. She showed a lot of loyalty to her mother-in-law. I'm starring that because I love that. I love that passage. "Where you go, I will go" stands out to me. I want to do something with that. So I am going to go over here and I'm going to do a couple notes to catch up. So there's a famine, the 2 sons and husband passes. Naomi tells Ruth and Orpah to stay and remarry. Orpah agreed, but Ruth clung. And then I am going to write, "For where you go, I will go." When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped talking to her. The 2 of them traveled until they came to Bethlehem. When they entered Bethlehem, the whole town was excited about their arrival. The local woman exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" "Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara," she answered, "for the Almighty has made me very bitter." So Naomi means pleasant. and Mara means bitter. So it says here, bitter, and it says down here somewhere that Naomi means pleasant. So I am going to write that. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has opposed me and the Almighty has afflicted me? They arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. So back to our devotion here. Whether you've met one, have one, or are one, you know a relationship with a mother-in-law isn't always one that comes easily. Even the best of family dynamics, the delicate relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, does not feel like home right away. The relationship between Ruth and Naomi is, she could have said, okay, let's go, I'll check it out and see if it's for me. Nope, Ruth was all in. This decision to stay with Naomi was so all-encompassing because it was a decision to follow the God of Israel. God uses this mother-in-law relationship to woo Ruth to himself and quite unexpectedly plant her in the genealogy of Christ. It wasn't Naomi's beauty, riches, or liveliness that drew Ruth to her. It was her wisdom, virtue, and grace. God had graciously grown and preserved in her despite the enormous loss. Ruth saw the mighty work God was doing in Naomi and didn't want her brush with the Lord of Israel to end. There she stayed, clinging to one person who linked her to him. Ruth's faithfulness to Naomi was not of her own strength. But in the midst of Naomi's doubt and sorrow, God revealed himself as a faithful and compassionate God. Naomi believed God was afflicting her, yet Ruth was able to see that despite their misfortune, God was still for them. What kind of God is this who could draw us against all odds into what seems like the least comforting of circumstances? A loving God. One who offers good news in a time of trouble, bread in a time of famine, a blessing in a season of barrenness, and joy that overcomes all sorrow. This is what Ruth saw in Naomi's God. And this is why she would conclude with certainty, your God will be my God. One interesting thing about Ruth that can be concluded in this chapter here, chapter 1, God is mentioned very little in this. That's the really special thing about this book, is that we are challenging ourselves to see where God is working. As the devotion talked about, how God is working in the smallest things, the most mundane things. And if we keep going, we will see that at work throughout the book of Ruth. God is never directly mentioned as doing something in the book, but it doesn't mean he isn't doing anything. In chapter 1, we see that Naomi is really hurt. She calls herself Mara, which means bitter, and she is wanting to turn from the Lord because he has done her wrong. He has taken away her husband, he has taken away her sons, and he ultimately took away everything that she cared about. As we go throughout the book of Ruth, we will see that it isn't about God taking away everything of Naomi, but it is about him restoring everything that she had. Through Ruth's boldness and loyalty and her taking a risk by staying with Naomi, all of Ruth's qualities that she had ultimately turned Naomi's life around. And so God used Ruth's life to redeem Naomi's family, and that is what we learned throughout the book of Ruth. Okay, that is the Bible study. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that the Lord spoke to you in some way and that you are able to take something out of this and walk with it throughout the day. I love Ruth. I think it's such a powerful book in the Old Testament, and I think people can look over it and they're really missing out on a lot of good things in there. So thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like this video and comment below if you would like me to keep doing Bible studies throughout the book of Ruth. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. I will see you guys next time. Bye!